we will discuss Gauss's law in the presence of dielectric. Okay. We already learned about Gauss's law, but it is in free space, in the case of free charges. Okay. So the Gauss's law states that the divergence of electric field is equal to rho by epsilon 0. Okay. Or you can write this as epsilon 0 del dot E equal to rho. Okay. Here E is the electric field and the divergence of electric field is equal to charge density by epsilon 0. This is the Gauss's law we already learned. Okay. Now we can write this rho as two terms. Rho, the charge density, is given by charge density due to the bound charges rho b plus charge density due to free charges. Okay. So rho f is the free charge density and rho b is the bound charge density. That means if a material has some polarization, then there is bound charge density rho b. If there is free charge carriers, free electrons, then there is free charge density. Free electrons or free ions inside a material, there is free charge density rho f. If there is polarization inside a material, then there is the bound charge density. So we can write this charge density as sum of two terms. The bound charge density plus free charge density. Okay. Rho b represents the bound charge density. Bound charge density and rho f the free charge density. Okay. Free charge density. Now we already learned about this bound charge density. Okay. In the case of polarization, we learned that this rho b is given by minus del dot p, where this p is the polarization, dipole moment per unit volume. Okay. So suppose this is equation A and this is equation B. Okay. Substituting A and B in this equation for Gauss law. Okay. So inserting equations A and B in equation 1. Okay. Inserting equations A and B in equation 1. Okay. In equation 1. What we get then? Then you can see that epsilon 0 del dot E is equal to rho b plus rho f. Okay. Rho b plus rho f. This is equal to minus del dot p plus rho f. Okay. Now we can write these two divergence terms together. That means the next step you can write this as divergence of epsilon 0 E plus polarization P is equal to rho f. Okay. This is also written as del dot D is equal to rho f. Okay. Here this epsilon 0 E plus P is called as D. This is called electric displacement vector. Okay. Where capital D equal to epsilon 0 E plus polarization. Okay, this is called as electric displacement vector. Okay, electric displacement vector. Okay, so here you can see that in the case of dielectric, we can restate this Gauss law. We already learned about Gauss law. There we see that the divergence of electric field is given by the charge density by epsilon 0. But now we write this charge density as two terms. The charge density of bound charges and the charge density of free charges. Okay, we learned about bound charges. When a material gets polarized, there is bound charge. Okay, so the charge density can be written as sum of two terms, the bound charge density plus free charge density. Okay, bound charge density is due to polarization, whereas the free charge density is due to the free charge carriers. It can be electrons or ions. Okay, anyway, we can write this charge density as sum of these bound charges plus free charges. In our previous classes, we learned that the bound charge density is given by negative divergence of polarization. Okay, so you can substitute this here and all this here. Then you get divergence of epsilon 0 E plus P equal to rho F. This new term, epsilon 0 E plus P, is called electric displacement vector. Okay, electric displacement vector. So, Gauss law in dielectric is restated as del dot D equal to rho F. Okay, it is restated as del dot D equal to rho F. That means del dot D equal to rho F. This is the Gauss law in dielectric. Okay, now you may think about what happens to the surface charge density. We already learned that the polarization of a material can be described by two terms. The polarization due to surface charge density plus polarization due to volume charge density. In this analysis, we used only the volume charge density. So what happens to the surface charge density? That is the question. The thing is that the volume charge density, the bound charge density, falls out very fastly when it reaches the boundary of the dielectric. Okay, that means on the surface of the dielectric material, this volume charge, bound charge rho B is a Dirac delta function. Is it clear? Okay, that means the bound charge density rho B, the bound charge, volume charge density rho B is a Dirac delta function on the surface of the polarized material. That means it falls out fastly nearest to the outside the material, outside the dielectric material. So we represent this surface value of this volume charge density by the surface charge density sigma B. Okay, actually it is the Dirac delta function. Okay, so in other words, actually the surface charge density is absorbed in the term rho B, volume charge density. Okay, So there is no need of writing an extra surface charge density here. That's all about the surface charge density, and you can apply the Gauss divergence theorem here to represent this in integral form. So the closed surface integral d dot dA is equal to QF enclosed by epsilon 0. This is the integral form of Gauss law in dielectric. Okay, this is the integral form, this is the differential form. In all these things, we have to remember this thing. The surface charge density is the approximation or value of the volume charge density on the surface of the polarized object. The volume charge density fastly falls out when it reaches at the boundary of the polarized object. So it is absorbed in the expression of bound charge density rho b. Okay, and from this expression we can see that this electric field and the electric displacement vector both have similar appearance, because in the case of not in the case of dielectric, in free space we can represent this del dot E by rho by epsilon 0, where rho represent the charge. Okay, so looking these two equations, we may feel that this D, this electric displacement vector, is just replace the electric field vector. Okay, but it is not the real situation, because there is no Coulomb's law corresponding to this electric displacement vector. Okay, that is the difference between the electric field vector and the electric displacement vector. Here the one thing is clear, because we know that thus the electric field obeys this law, del dot E equal to rho, del dot E equal to rho by epsilon 0, and a corresponding integral equation. So the first look we feel that this electric displacement vector just replies the electric field, but it is not true, because we know that in order to specify a vector field we need two parameters. What are they? In order to uniquely define a vector field, you need divergence and curl. Okay, uniquely define vector field, Helmholtz theorem. Okay, vector field, we need divergence and curl. Divergence and curl. Okay, the case of electrostatic field, we know these two, because we know that del dot E equal to rho by epsilon 0 and del cross E equal to 0. Okay, so using these two equations we can uniquely define the electric field. Okay, but what about this displacement vector? Okay, we know this thing, this del dot D equal to rho f, it is true, but what happens to this del cross D? Okay, from this del cross D you can see that del cross epsilon 0 E plus P, polarization. And for electrostatic fields, you can assume this term is 0, del cross E, but you have del cross P. Okay, we can't say that this is equal to 0. Del cross P, what is this del cross P? This is not, because it is very difficult to find out. polarization of a material. Okay, so this is unknown. Del cross P is unknown. In that sense, it is very difficult to fix the electric displacement vector D. Okay, so this both are not same. There is no similarity between this electric field vector and the electric displacement vector. Okay, the case of electric displacement vector, its curl with the polarization is not known. We don't know what is the form of this thing. If you know this divergence and curl, then you can uniquely specify the vector field of vector D. Okay, so we can apply this Gauss law and find out the electric displacement vector D only for systems which has some symmetry, either a spherical symmetry or cylindrical or planar symmetry, etc. We already learned about problems with Gauss law. There you make use of some type of symmetries of the system. Okay, so if there is some symmetry to the system, then we can make use of it and find out the electric displacement vector D. Otherwise, there is no way to fix the electric displacement vector D because this polarization is not known to us. Okay, that is the difference between this electric displacement vector and the electric field. Okay, in case of electric displacement vector, we already see that del cross D not equal to 0. Okay, del cross D not equal to 0 and we can't get a scalar potential corresponding to this D. Okay, this is not known or this del cross D not equal to 0. So, which means that there is no potential corresponding to no potential corresponding to D. Okay, corresponding to electric displacement vector D. Okay, now we can think about the boundary conditions on electric displacement vector. Okay, the electrostatic boundary conditions of electric field is already studied, and the electric field we already learned about this in our previous class. Okay, above minus E perpendicular below is equal to sigma by epsilon 0. Okay, similarly E parallel above minus E parallel below is equal to 0. That means we learned that the normal component of electrostatic field is discontinuous by this amount and the parallel component of electric field or the tangential component of electric field is continuous across a boundary. Okay, this is what we learned in our previous class. When electric field travels from one medium to another one, the discontinuity happens in this way for the normal component and the tangential component is continuous. Okay, now we can extend this informations to the electric displacement vector. Okay, so this is for electric field. Okay, now we can find out the corresponding boundary conditions for electric displacement vector. That means if the medium is dielectric, we have to mention the boundary conditions for electric displacement vector. Okay, then the electric displacement vector, the normal component of electric displacement vector above minus the normal component of electric displacement vector below is equal to sigma f. That means this discontinuity is equal to the free charge density sigma F. Similarly, the parallel component of, that means the tangential component of electric displacement vector is continuous across a boundary. Okay, these are the boundary conditions for electric displacement vector. Okay, so in the case of the dielectric medium, we have to apply this boundary condition because we know that this sigma includes the two terms, the bound charge density and the surface charge density, and we don't know about the bound charge density. It is the internal property of the dielectric material, but we know about the free charges of the material. Okay, so always we do the problem using the known quantities. That is what happens here also. So the electric discontinuity of the normal component of electric displacement vector is equal to the free surface charge density, and its parallel tangential components are continuous always. Okay, these are the electrostatic boundary conditions for electric displacement vector. Okay. Now, I think I can wind up now. Gauss law in the case of dielectric. There we replace the charge density by bound charge density plus free charge density, and we derive the corresponding Gauss law. Then we introduce a new parameter which is known as electric displacement vector, vector D. Okay. Then we write this Gauss law as del dot D equal to rho F, where this rho F is the free charge density. Okay. The bound charges are always internal inside the material, and we don't know nothing about it, but we know informations about these free charges. Okay, so the Gauss law is written in the new form del dot D equal to rho F in the case of dielectric. Okay, the electric displacement vector is defined as epsilon 0 E plus P. Okay, where P is the polarization. Okay, and we write the corresponding integral form of the equation. Then we mentioned there that there is a similarity between the electric field and the electric displacement vector, but they are completely different parameters, because we already know that the electrostatic field is uniquely defined using the divergence and curl. We know both of them. Divergence of electric field is given by the Gauss law rho by epsilon 0, and the curl of the electrostatic field is 0. But in the case of electric displacement vector, we don't know the curl of electric displacement vector, del cross D. Because in order to find out this del cross D, we want to know the del cross P. But polarization is not known. Okay, so this electric displacement vector is not uniquely defined because we don't know the curl of the electric displacement vector. But as far as our system has some symmetry, spherical symmetry, cylindrical symmetry or planar symmetry, etc., then we can make use of Gauss law and find out the electric displacement vector. Okay, that is the difference between the electric displacement vector and the electric field. Okay, then we move on to the boundary conditions. There we state the electrostatic boundary conditions of electric field, which we have already learned in our previous class. Okay, and we extend this concept to electric displacement vector, and we see that the normal component of electric displacement vector is discontinuous by an amount free surface charge density, and then parallel tangential component of electric displacement vector is continuous across the boundary. Okay, so learn well. Thank you.